Hey, GW coming to you live once again. Hey, listen, in 1991, Wes Craven had released, well, he had already had Nightmare on Elm Street under his belt. So he decided to introduce the world to a new villain. That villain was Horace Pinker. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it came from a movie called Shocker. Shocker was about a mass murderer, Horace Pinker, played by Mitch Pileggi, and basically Peter Berg, who plays Jonathan Parker in the film, the two main people. When Pinker decides to target Parker's family, he gets arrested. Now, interesting fun fact about Shocker, being that Wes Craven had directed this film, that Heather Langenkamp, who was a Nightmare on Elm Street regular, I think she was on 1, 2, and 3, maybe 4, I don't know. She was in a couple of those. She actually plays a victim in the bathtub. You guys can check it out. I IMDb'd it, checked it out, so there is a connection there. Anyway, what Craven was trying to do with this film was release it to introduce the world to a new horror villain. And that did not work. Interestingly enough, there is a script if you like the first one or have seen it, or if you haven't seen it and like it, there is a script, Shocker 2. And it was basically just an internet script. You guys can go search it out, check it out, and it got canceled. For what reason, I don't know. But I don't think the first one did as well as it was supposed to. But anyway, in the film's climax, which is pretty interesting, Jonathan Parker and Horace Pinker. Oh, wait, before I get to that, let me tell you the scenario of the story. So anyway, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. That's why I know. But anyway, what happens in it is that Horace Pinker is a mass murderer, serial killer. And he gets tracked down by Jonathan Parker and his father, his father plays a detective in the film. And they capture Pinker, and he goes right to jail, right? Now, there was an alternate director's cut scheduled for release with new scenes that would explain how Pinker got to be one with electricity. That's what the movie's about. Dude comes back and he uses electricity to sort of deal with his victims, and then it becomes a race and chase through TV channels. Basically, Craven's commentary on the video age. But, as I just said, a director's cut was supposed to have some alternate features in it. That director's cut never came to light because, again, I don't think this film was popular enough, or scenario B, the materials that were used to shoot the original things were lost. You guys get that a lot. Sometimes, with like Jaws. Just now, with the movie Jaws, a lost picture was found in some guy's basement. It was a picture of Bruce the Shark, was lost, for ages. So sometimes the materials go missing, and that's why we have no alternate or unrated director's cuts. Just thought I'd put it out there. But this is, like I said, Craven's tale of the video age. Now, the one thing the film had going for it was a kick-ass song called Shocker, and it was done by the Dudes of Wrath. Probably their only hit, but it made sense. Now, Criterion, or Arrow Video, I'm not sure, had put out a deluxe version of this movie. Apparently it garnered enough to get a cult following. The movie is not so much terrifying as it is a fun watch, but do not go into it looking for a villain like Freddy Krueger. What you're going to get is a watered down, wisecracking version of Freddy Krueger in the form of Horace Pinker, who really didn't do it for me when I saw the film. Now, the trailers, on the other hand, when I was a kid and I saw this, scared the living crap out of me because they'd always show a dark room and then the lights would come on, right? And there'd be an electric chair sitting there, and the voiceover would say something like, "Today, mass murderer Horace Pinker will be put to death, but he will not die." and then you saw a close-up of Horace Pinker, and he'd have this evil grin like a Cheshire cat. He'd be like, bring it on. When you're a kid, that's scary. Or no, the one thing he did say was, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Which again, when you're a kid, you hear that, you get a little disturbed. So anyway, like I said, it was done by Wes Craven, had a hell of a soundtrack. Megadeth was on it. And like I said, the soundtrack was pretty good. The directing was all right, and it's a fun movie. It has Michael Murphy as Lieutenant Don Parker. It has Peter Berg, who I already mentioned, as Jonathan Parker. Cammie Cooper as Allison. That's his girlfriend. Mitch Pileggi as Horace Pinker. And again, like I said, directed by Wes Craven. It didn't really do what Nightmare on Elm Street had done for horror. But it's, like I said, it's a fun movie to watch. And you can find it around Halloween time. You can also look up the script for Shocker 2. It's on the internet. It's someplace. I found it earlier and just breezed through it. It looked like it would have been interesting, but this thing probably didn't do as well as it should in the box office. But what can I say? It's a fun movie to watch. Now, it also took Craven's work from horror to social satire. The one interesting thing, too, about this film was that early versions of this movie, rewrites, scripts, whatever, were made for TV. Being that the violent content was too hardcore for TV viewers, it was dropped from TV. Was dropped from TV because of the content and the special effects. The other interesting thing about this movie, if you see it, Pinker has the ability to transfer himself from body to body, and even that was a stretch for filmmakers. So they had to go with something more big budget. So Alive Pictures came around, gave them a hell of a deal. They were able to spend $40,000 for the special effects. And it's pretty neat. Also, there's a performance by a little girl who I believe drives a bulldozer in the film. And the little girl did pretty good because she wrestles with Peter Berg. And you almost believe that she is possessed. That scene was pretty cool. Also, this film has a cameo by Dr. Timothy Leary. Those 60 guys and 70 guys. You guys know who he is. He appears in the middle of a program when Pinker and Parker are jumping through TVs. So basically, like I said, the climax is fun to watch, and it is a social commentary on our video age. So, Shocker drive-in total score, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Because it didn't do what Freddy Krueger did for horror, but it did make it was a movie that was slightly entertaining, very fun to watch. And it's probably Craven's most fun film because now we're elevating from horror to